Maja Rosén is with us, co-founder of Flight Free 2020. Good morning, Maja.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you've done it. You have clipped your own wings, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Actually, I gave up flying about 10 years ago now for climate reasons.
Right.
But I think this is not really a question about sort of clipping the wings and stopping to see the world. I think this is more of a way, if we sort of do everything we can to solve the climate crisis now, there will still be a world to explore in the future. So I think what we're saying is not that we have to necessarily just stop seeing the world forever, but I think we need to focus on the climate crisis here and now and just do everything in our power so that our children can also explore the world in the future.
So what, this is a sort of flight moratorium then?
Sorry, I don't quite understand.
Sorry, apologies. Sorry, apologies. Just a temporary restriction on flying then, until we manage to develop technology that enables us to do it in an environmentally friendly way.
Exactly, because I think the IPCC has given us a decade now to cut the emissions in half, and a decade, that's not a long period of time. So what we just have to do now is that we have to act as if it was an emergency. For example, if we had a third world war, we would just do everything in our power to regain peace, and what we need to do now is just to focus on cutting the emissions. So I think going on holiday, for example, that should just be secondary at this point.
Oh, okay. So we're in an emergency situation. Going on holiday is not a priority. So you haven't flown for the last 10 years. Are you urging other people to join you in this commitment, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. Because I realized that if I just personally give up flying, it won't make much of a difference. But if I also tell other people about this and make more people make the same decision, we can make a huge difference. So I'm running the campaign Flight Free 2020 here in Sweden, and the goal is to get 100,000 Swedes to collectively take a flight-free year next year. Because if we become that many, it will not only reduce our own emissions, it will also have a huge impact on people around us, not just here in Sweden, but also all over the world. And also it will make, hopefully, the politicians brave enough to make the decisions needed to reduce aviation.
What about people who fly for business reasons?
I think when it comes to business, I do realize that it's probably not possible to just completely ban all flights, but I've spoken to so many people working for different companies and universities, and they say that there are so many business flights that could easily be avoided by, for example, taking Skype meetings or sending less people, or, there are so many ways that we can reduce business trips immensely. But also here in Sweden, for example, business trips is actually only 20% of our flights, 80% are private flights, and the majority of those are holiday flights, which could be all of them avoided.
Right, okay. I'm just thinking the impact on tourism of that. Let's just say that everybody got on board with what you were asking them to do, Maja, and said, right, okay, 2020 is going to be the flight-free year. I'm not sure how tourism operates there in Sweden. But I mean, in Scotland, we rely very, very heavily on people coming from all parts of the world, from America, from Australia, from across Europe and elsewhere, to come and enjoy Scotland, to bring money into Scotland, to stay in our hotels in Scotland, and to boost the economy. It's a major income generator for Scotland, as it is for countries all over the world. In fact, there are countries that rely very, very largely on tourism. Have you thought through the impact of that?
Yeah, of course I have, and I'm not saying that this will be easy and that it won't have any negative effects, but if you, for example, look at tourism in many countries, it's also a huge problem. It's in fact destroying many parts of the world already as it is. But I think that even if people we have to reshape our society, and that means that some people will lose their jobs, but I think as humans we are creative and we'll have to find new ways, and we have to work on solving the climate crisis collectively and help each other out. But if we don't solve the crisis now, in just a few decades, this system still won't be working, because then so many countries in the world will be uninhabitable, and we will have wars and terrorist attacks in much more frequently than we do now, and then there will still be no tourism, I think. So we just need to focus on solving this now and help each other out and find new ways.
Okay. Well, Maja, you've given us a very, very interesting and really quite radical agenda here, and I'm really keen to hear what people think about it this morning. 08085 92 95 00. This is Maja Rosén, the co-founder of Flight Free 2020. She herself has not flown for 10 years, and that is because of environmental concerns. And she's urging everyone else not to fly for a year, just to make that commitment for 2020 that you are not going to fly. She says we are in a state of an emergency, and when you are in a state of an emergency, then you have to take emergency measures, and holidays are not very high up on the list. And she says it would make a real significant difference if everyone made this decision just not to fly for a year. So think about it in your life. Are you prepared to do that? Do you think that that is an important commitment to make, and that you're prepared to make that commitment? Or not? What difference would it make to your life? There are many people who never fly, year in, year out, year, whatever, but nonetheless, reasonably cheap flight travel has now been with us for 15, 20 years. Many people take advantage of it, looking forward to their summer holidays abroad, getting a bit of sunshine, going away for that city break somewhere, a stag weekend, a hen weekend. Should we put all of that stuff on the back burner and say, no, actually, there is something much more important at stake here, and we have to clip our own wings? 08085 92 95 00 is a number to call. Margaret says, I've stopped flying. I only flew because my husband had to go abroad to find work after the Conservatives destroyed his profession. I've been an environmental campaigner since 1995. I did it on my own since 1981. I'm a member of Extinction Rebellion, and the whole system has to change. Capitalism, constant economic growth is not sustainable. So there you go. I think Margaret is one who will sign up to Flight Free 2020. What about you? 08085 92 95 00. I'm not being mischievous here, but I'm now going to speak to Jonathan Hinkles, who is the Managing Director of Loganair. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Will you be joining Maja's campaign to encourage people to have a Flight Free 2020?
I won't, for obvious reasons, but I think also what I would say is that everybody in the aviation industry right now is focused in a way that I've never seen before on the environmental impact of aviation, and I think that's a good thing.
Do you accept that your industry is a major problem in terms of the risks to the environment?
I think the aviation industry is certainly it is a contributor to environmental issues. Of course it is. But what I'm struggling to understand is why necessarily from an environmental perspective aviation is being vilified in the way that it is. If you look at forms of travel, for example, if you're trying to get from Edinburgh up to the Orkney Islands, which is a journey that many people take every day, the emissions, if you drive your car up to Aberdeen and then got on the ferry from Aberdeen, are 9 times higher than if you fly. If you look at cruise ships, for example, one cruise line's ships generate more emissions than all of the cars in Europe put together. And so where people are saying, I'm not going to fly, well, actually, in itself, yeah, I can understand that message. But from a point of view of wider impacts on the environment, it's pushing people towards other forms of travel, which are probably significantly worse for the environment than flying. And with the work that's been done in aviation right now to combat that, we're developing the first electric aircraft, which we hope will be operating in 3 to 4 years' time. And there's a whole load of other initiatives going on through the industry as well to improve that performance. It will make a difference very quickly. And what concerns me is that the aviation industry, I think, will be at the forefront of leading sustainable travel, but other forms of travel, notably ferries and cruise ships, are light years behind where aviation is now going.
Well, but I suppose you could argue that potentially the focus that has been placed on air travel, and you're clearly saying that you don't feel it's necessarily fair, if you like, if you look at all the various ways that we will travel, but perhaps that is what has forced your industry to really take this seriously and to start looking at major changes. Maybe it is the pressure of, a Flight Free 2020 that is making you concentrate your efforts.
I think without question, the environmental focus that's been placed on aviation has been a big thing. It's not been something that has meant that all of a sudden aviation was nowhere in an environmental debate. A number of the things that are coming through now and the technological developments have been in works for an awfully long time. People have been working on biofuels in terms of carbon-free fuel for aircraft for over a decade. It's taking that and making it in a scale where it's viable to work the whole industry on that has become the issue, and that requires some government assistance to do that. But actually saying, look, we're going to stop long-haul flights completely for both those people travelling on business. I mean, I don't know anybody who flies long-haul on a regular basis for fun. I certainly don't. I don't actually find it enjoyable, and I think the vast majority of people are in that place as well. People tend to fly long-haul flights regularly for one of two reasons, one of which is business, the other of which is seeing relatives who live a long, long way away from where they do. And in both of those cases, is it right, is it proper to actually say to those people, you're not going to be allowed to do that anymore?
Well,
I genuinely don't think it is, but I think it's right that we have the debate from an environmental perspective about how can the aviation industry do more, which it already is doing a huge amount, but how also can other industries, notably cruise ships and ferries, join with those efforts as well, because they are way behind.
Maja, why are you putting so much focus on the aviation industry?
I think, what you're saying here is absolutely correct, that taking the ferry or the car is not a good option. But when it comes to flying, I mean, you wouldn't take the car to Thailand, for example. Flying makes us travel much more frequently and much further distances. And what you were saying here, that people don't fly long-haul distance flights for fun, that's simply not correct. And you don't have to do it very regularly to do it too much. Like, for example, if everyone in the world would go on a yearly trip to Thailand, then the total global emissions, not only from flying, but totally, would increase with 40% when we instead need to cut them in half. So that aviation stands for so little of the emissions globally. It's because so few people are flying. Estimated 80 to 90% of the world population has never, ever been on a plane. But of course, we have to not only focus on aviation, we have to focus on cutting emissions from everything. But I think we need to rethink traveling. And we, at this point, for example, if we can find a solution in 3 to 4 years, then great, then people can fly.
Well, I mean, it's not just...
we have these solutions, we have to do everything in our power.
It's not just rethinking travelling, though, is it? It's rethinking our lives, our leisure times, what brings us pleasure, what brings us stimulation. And in recent years, travel to distant parts of the world has become one of our main pleasures, hasn't it? I mean, there'll be people listening to this, Maja, who are saving up to take their children to Florida, to Disney World, or who are saving up for the 25th wedding anniversary to, I don't know, go to Bermuda or Barbados or somewhere that they have seen either on television or in magazines, and they thought, oh my goodness, how much I would love to go there. So your message to them is, don't.
But I totally understand that they would like to, and I would also love to go to different places in the world, but I would rather have my children survive. And I think this is the issue, that most people hasn't realized that we're actually putting our own children's lives at stake, because of course everyone would do everything in their power to save their own children. I don't think people keep flying because they are selfish or that they don't care. I think they are underestimating their own importance. Because what you do, if you give up flying, then others will follow. So this is such a good way to make more people wake up and realize that we really have to do everything we can. Okay. And I'm also thinking that what kind of society have we created if people need to go as far as possible from home to be happy? Like, I really need to think that we just have to rethink.
We need to stay. We need to stay where we are. We need to stay where we happen to be born. Well, I mean, I tell you what, Maja, that's all right if you've been born in Sweden, which is a wonderful country with fabulous amenities. There are people in other parts of the world who might not be quite so happy with the place that they've been born and will want to go and get opportunities elsewhere. But listen, as I say, really interesting and radical agenda that you're giving us. So let's have your thoughts. 08085 92 95 00. This is Maja Rosén. She wants everyone to have a flight-free 2020. 2020. She herself hasn't flown for 10 years. She thinks it is vitally important that we concentrate our minds on the scale of the potential disaster that is upon us. And this is one way of doing it. The fact that we have air travel at all, that we have that facility to go to the other end of the world, encourages people to do so, she feels. And so you have this building effect of people using the world's vital resources. So if you are thinking of saving up to go to Disney, or on that 25th anniversary trip to somewhere tropical, or on the stag weekend to Vegas, or on the hen weekend to, where shall we go to, hen weekend at New York, should you just not? 08085 92 95 00. We'll speak to Robin after this.